Hey everybody, so I'm going to show you a Dynamo script that me and my buddy at DLR Group built. Uh, my friend Chris Staff is a MEP BIM manager, and he came to me because they had this new workflow they wanted to do with a family, and this family is pretty there's a lot of stuff in it. There's a ton of parameters, there's a ton of nested families, and the reason that is because they want because they're always creating equipment, and so this is like a catch-all, and it the way it's built is it interacts with a lot of schedules, and based off of what's in there, like the nested families and parameters, it'll schedule certain ways, but essentially each nested family is a specific component that would make up an air handling unit, and their workflow was to go and delete those nested families because those would dictate what schedules and how things would get scheduled. And they would also go and clean out parameters and stuff. So obviously, the thought was like, okay, we could probably use Dynamo, some UIs, because the end goal is to have users be able to quickly create families and bring it in. The idea also is that they're leveraging manufacturing families and bringing those into their project. So this was a really cool way to kind of embrace external content and be able to bring it into our own family, control schedules and parameters and everything else. And then allow the user that flexibility of being able to do that in a simple UI. So anyways, to get started, we'll just kind of take a look at the script and kind of just break it down. I'm going to show you a demo of the script. We're not going to dive too deep into it. This is more or less a demo itself, just to kind of give you an understanding of how to use this, and that there is capabilities, and there's you can do these things for your scripts. I will be showing bits and pieces of this script in future videos for other type things, but for this example, this is just a kind of a demo to show you, hey, this is possible, and you could build your own solutions to address issues like this. So the first UI that pops up prompts you for a family name, and then a directory where that needs to go. Now, it does default, the directory does, and but it allows it to choose a location where they would essentially save this family. Typically, that would be like a project folder or something. And what it does is it grabs the original template family, and it saves it to that location, and that's where it starts to work on it. There's a little Python script here that kind of does that. From here, the next prompt would be for them to select their components. So this is only some of the components. The actual script itself does have multiple sets of components, so it'll give you choices here, and then the subcomponents that are associated with those elements. But as you can see, you can just select some components. So you would say, okay, this air handling unit has a return, a fan supply, and so on, and that will dictate what parameters are associated with this family, and then also what nested families are associated with the host family. And then and since everything is in that family originally, what it's going to do is delete all that stuff, not bring it in. So it's deleting it. And then these are kind of the groups of kind of the two processes. So one is deleting the parameters, which is really easy to do in a family with the Orchid package. And the other part is deleting the nested families, which is a little bit harder, but possible. The third part of this UI is to load a manufacturing family into the host family. So they would browse out to that location, where that family is, select it, click load family, it loads it in. And then the end result is that you have a real family within your project, and you never have to leave. So you're not in a family editor, you're not doing any of that, you're inside of your project the entire time. So the the workflow would be that a user would just go to to Dynamo Player, press play, and then get these UIs, interact with them, and then have a family in their project. And so this is the final script. The script we're going to look at isn't this clean. There's also some future things that need to be built into this script. But we'll kind of walk through this script and look at it group by group. We're not going to dive too deep into it. Again, this is just to show you that these are possibilities, not necessarily to show you exactly how to build this script. But we will dive into little bits of these just based off of what we're trying to, because there's certain things within this script that we can apply to many other things, which I'll do videos on in the future. So let's just go ahead and jump into Dynamo, and then we can actually just go ahead and play this. So I'm going to show you over here. This is our empty, just an empty Revit project, and the end goal is that we're going to have a family in here that will have some nested families. So they're called pucks, and those nested families, there's a whole bunch of them in there, and we'll see some of those deleted. There'll be some parameters deleted. We won't really look at that, but what we will see is I've got a family that just says nested, very big, and you'll see that within the air handling family. So very clear that it did replace it. So anyways, let's get started, and then we'll see what the family looks like, and then we'll kind of go through the script itself. So we'll click run. This UI will prompt. All this was built with data shapes, and so we can just call this something like and then we can put it in a specific path. For now, I'm just going to leave it as the default, and then we can just set the values. Now, this is important to understand. If you try to build something like this yourself, it will upgrade, so that's cool. And this is, again, that's the Orchid package that I'm using most throughout this script to interact with the family. But for loading, you're fine if it's an old one. So you can see that was 2019. We loaded in a 2020 project. As for replacing nested families, which I'll show you at the end of this, that needs to be the year of. So it needs to be 2020 in this case. It also needs to have the shared check box on. So it needs to be set to shared for it to work correctly. So here, what we would do is select the components. So I'm just going to kind of click a bunch of different things so that we can see that the elements have been deleted. The original file does have, 10 or however many. Let's count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so 10. So 10 pucks, and then so it'll delete kind of the rest of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'll delete 5 of them. We should have 5 left over. We'll see at the end. Some pucks may not be in the original or in the template currently, so we may get some things may not be deleted just because of that, because they're associated with a different element or a specific component, and it wasn't listed there. So again, this script itself is still being built out. So for the most part, it does the entire job, but there's still things that need to be added to it. So here we're just going to browse out to the file. So I've got this nested family 2020. Just open up that, load family, and what it's going to do is we've got a manufacturing nested family inside of the host family, and it just goes in and replaces it. That's it. So it looks at that one and replaces it with this other one. It renames it though before it does that, so it renames it to match that nested family. So the nested family now, or the original one that was in the host family, was renamed to nested family underscore 2020, and then it was replaced with the manufacturing family. In this case, it was the nested family underscore 2020 file. And there you go. So we've got a finished script. You can see it runs actually pretty smooth for everything that it's doing, and the end result is you got a clean file with your, the correct components and the correct parameters associated with it. So now we just got to search for BIM. You can see that it's right here. We can just drag and drop. We should see nested. Yep. And you can see that we've got more pucks. So again, there's some of those components have multiple pucks associated with them. Some of them don't have all the pucks associated with them. So this does make sense that there's 4, 5, 6, 7 instead of just 5, because there's multiple components sometimes associated with those pucks. So you can see though that some did get deleted. So there should be one in the middle here, 2 in this row, 3 in this row, 3 in this row, and then 3 down here. And you can see that they have been deleted. And then here's the nested family that just says nested. What we'll do now is just jump back into the Dynamo script, and we'll just look at the way it's kind of broken out and kind of what each group is doing. Alright, so this first part is all the parameters. And all the parameters are kind of getting grouped together and then just grouped under a dictionary. And then when they make their choices, we're just using the key value of the dictionary to purge out the unselected component parameters. So the parameters that are associated with the components that they did not select. We are then purging those out based off of the key value, and the key value matches the selections that they make inside of that UI where they're selecting the component. That's what all of this is. Before we get to that though, that's kind of the first group over here, but it interacts mostly with the stuff in the second UI. The first UI, which is this part, it creates, again, data shapes is what we're using to do all the UI stuff, but it has a default directory, and this is where you would input a file name, so very easy. In this second, I think the other important thing to kind of mention is the this part. So this part is actually creating the file. So it looks at the source location, and then it places it in the destination. So that would be whatever they said, where they wanted to place it in the directory, or default location. And this would give it a file name, so whatever they typed in, and then kind of place that over there. So then for the rest of this script, you're interacting with that version of the file and not the original template. And then what was a huge thing for us, and what we initially did was we looked at the file editor, and we were just going to interact with that and try to automate it. But somebody had mentioned that it would be more efficient if we just didn't get into that at all. If we could just do everything in the project and just kind of manage all this stuff in the background of Revit, which was kind of difficult until we found the Orchid package, which is incredibly powerful and addressed a lot of what we were trying to do. So I definitely recommend checking this out if you want to build solutions like this. So the second part, like I mentioned, it kind of deletes the parameters based off of the selections that they make. A lot of it's grouped in dictionaries, and those dictionaries dictate, are the key values, are the keys, and then the values associated with them. So based off of their selections, we'll delete certain things because those selections will just use the key values, which then we just get are the keys, and then we'll just get the values from those keys. So in this case up here, so down here in this group is deleting the parameters. Up here, which in the completed list in the PowerPoint shows that this is grouped. I think it was in gray. This is deleting the sub elements. This was a lot more harder than I thought it would initially be. But you can see here, this is a element delete node, and I think I think this is an ORCID node. Yeah, so this one will allow us to tie in a document. You can see it says document RVT as ORCID document. That's not the document that we're trying to tie into this. We're actually trying to tie in the Revit family, and because there seems to be some error that I'm not entirely aware of, I tried a whole bunch of different methods and realized that on the second run, it would actually delete the elements in the Revit model. In the family. So essentially what I do here is just run it twice. So the first run, it gets this error, which is fine. And then the second run, it gets this over here. It'll actually tell us that true, it did delete the sub elements. Which, if you remember, there was 5 elements that we did not select as components that were going to be in the template, and so that's what it's deleting here. It's deleting 5 components, and a lot of this reads null. I'm not entirely sure. Somebody that knows more than me can probably answer, but like we can't. It's kind of hard for us to actually see what the heck is going on because it reads out null. But essentially, we should have a list of all the nested families. Like, that's what should be there. Get nested. So this will return all the nested families in there. And we just do a little bit of filtering and stuff, leveraging those dictionaries. And then we get a list of elements over here that need to be deleted and removed from the file. The second UI is the manufacturing family. So most of this is just getting into the family and literally renaming it. So that's what this set name node over here it does. Is it renames the family. Very kind of hard to do, or at least it was more more than I thought we would need to do, but it did work. The most difficult part though was replacing the nested family. That ended up being very, very difficult. We were able to find a really great blog post out on the building coder, and if I remember it, if I don't remember, just leave a comment and let me know. I can try to find that post and post it below in the comments, and then you can kind of take a look at it yourself. I think we did have to change a few things inside of the actual script to get it to work for what we were trying to do, but essentially what we do and why we have so the original template has a set of pucks which dictate or essentially just are the components. But it does have another nested family called manufacturing family, and that family is renamed. That's what all of this is. It renames it based off of the family name that you select. So the family that you select, so like here we can see this just says manufacturing family. So we can kind of parse that string, get the family name out of that, and then we just rename the nested family in the template to match that. And then in this part, we tie in that nested family and then replace it with the actual manufacturing family that has the exact same name now. And I can kind of show you this Dynamo script. This Python script. We won't go into it. Again, I didn't build this. Don't want to take credit for it. It's again, Building Coder. There was a post about it, and if I remember, I will put the link below. There was something, and I can't remember exactly. It'll be clear when I actually go out to the post and look at it again, but I think there was something we had to change within this, but we've got it to work, and we got it to replace the family, and you can see at the end result, after we ran it, it did have that nested family inside of it, but you can see here it tells us that the document loaded, so I just have it reload the family edit, and then just close and save the file. So at the end, you do have a file on your desktop or in your project folder of the exact same family that's loaded into your project. So that way you have backup of it. It's the exact version, and in case anything gets corrupted, you have that original version on your desktop or whatever location you select. So anyways, that's this script. Hopefully you learned something from this. There's a lot of things that you can take from this and implement in your own scripts or your own workflows, whatever. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, in the future, in some other videos, I'll try to talk about some of these, or not talk about them, but implement them in different ways, and then actually show you how to build that script. But let me know if you have any questions, and I appreciate you watching. Make sure to like, share, comment if you want, and I'll see you in the next video.